Hello, everybody. Esper here. Hope you're doing good. I wanted to do a live stream. It was a spur of the moment idea, and I don't know how long I'm going to stream or how long I'm going to talk for, but I wanted to give an update and also talk about a few things, and also hopefully do a Q&A. Anyone who's watching here live, you're welcome to drop any questions you would like here in the chat about D&D, about my channel or myself or life, the universe, or anything. So first and foremost, I want to give a really, really big thank you to you, to all of my subscribers. Some of you have been following me for a long time. I've actually been running this channel for a long time. I've been doing this channel going on a decade. Here in just a few months, I'll have 10 years of running this channel. It all started with D&D and fantasy type content. I've experimented with some different things over the years, but it's always been D&D and fantasy at its core, and that's what it still is, and that's what it will continue to be. Others are newer subscribers, and you probably found me through like monster rankings or something of that sort. It just really means so much to me. This is really what I love. I love telling stories. I love creating. I love writing. So knowing that I have an audience, I have like-minded individuals, I have people that get something out of the content that I create and in return show me support, whether it's by watching or following me on Patreon. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you, and definitely stick around because I have more goals, more ideas to come. Actually, one of my goals for 2019, I guess you could call it a New Year's resolution, I don't know, was to hit 50,000 subscribers. So here we are in April, kind of late April, and I'm there. So it's really cool. Now, I don't think my playback is actually working here, but I think I can see everyone live here on the chat. I'll send it a message. Hey guys, so if you all are getting my message there, let me know. So yeah, thanks. That's the first main thing I want to say here is just thank you all, and I've got a lot of motivation and a lot of energy and just so many ideas. My life is pretty busy right now. I have a lot of irons in the fire, and actually these last few weeks have been pretty crazy. I've been in a multi-stage moving process, plus I encountered some personal challenges, and I'm also helping out some other individuals in my life, close people to me with some personal challenges. So it's been crazy, but don't worry, I'm still here. I'm still working on stuff. I'm working on the Monstrosities Part 2 ranking. I'm working on my next set of maps that I should have on my Patreon here in just a few days. Actually, I can give you guys a quick preview of what it's looking like. Here it is. I'm calling it Harpy Coast. So this obviously is not finished yet. The first page actually is it's about done. So that one is going to give you an idea. So it's got some harpy nests up on the rock formations, or you could use it for any kind of nest. I don't know. They could be griffin nests or whatever. Goblins could be hiding up there. So that's the idea of the maps, is that they're customizable. So I'm working on those. Should have them up on Patreon here in just a couple of days. If anyone who's watching is not yet on my Patreon, there's a link down in the video description. You can subscribe and donate monthly to get higher levels of rewards. If you can't donate anything, that's fine. I release free stuff too. Like I do one of those maps for free every month. So I'll probably do that one that I just showed, that first page. So I want to keep going. Yeah. So after 50,000 subs, my next big goal is 100,000. You know, the glorious 100K sub is a big goal for a lot of people. And I know in order to reach that, I need to keep producing, and I need to improve. I need to get better. I need better production value, and I just need to keep focusing on writing and developing the best content that I can. So that's my commitment to you guys, and it's also my commitment to myself. I'm someone who tries to keep learning and keep improving. So yeah, thanks again, guys. What else? I'm also working on my books a lot. Some of you might be familiar with this. Others, you might have heard little things here and there. So my big dream is to be an author, a great author, to write fantasy novels, and maybe a sci-fi or a magical realism or something. But fantasy really is what's in my heart of hearts. And so I've been working on these fantasy novels for years now. It all began with a dream I had in 2013. Like literally, I woke up one morning and I had this image in my head of a guy on some kind of small boat or raft going down this misty river with these gorge-like walls. You know how rivers can cut deep. And he was passing under these big bridges overhead. And atop each bridge, there was a hag looking down at him. And I just woke up one morning with that image in my head so strong. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I got to write this. I went right to my computer, directly started typing it up, working. And I thought it was going to be a short story because I've always written short stories. And it got really long. And I'm like, wow, I wrote a novella. But then the story is like, it's still talking to me, and these characters are still talking to me, and it's expanding and growing and unfolding. So I kept writing it. And then it's like I've written a book, but it's actually a part of a book series, and it's really pretty complex. I won't get into the nitty gritty of that, but as where we stand right now is I'm working on the 4th draft for book 2. Once I get that done, I'm going to get back on the search for finding a literary agent or a publisher that'll take me directly. And this YouTube channel is really going to be my platform. So you guys, your engagement with me, that is like this like launch pad that's going to help me get break into publishing. And whether I end up with a publishing house that's small or large, I want to get these novels out to the world because they're real special to me. And I think I'm really onto something. And I've been working on them for nearly 6 years. And when I say working on them, I mean all the time. I can't say how many hours I put into these, hundreds of hours. And they're like my babies. In a way, they're a little different than my D&D content, right? They're a little more serious and grounded. But in another way, they're similar because it's me. And anyone who's been following my stuff, you may have an idea of my style. You know, I like mythology. I like dreams. I like history. I like mystical things. I like real human emotion and real human experience. So yeah, so that continues to develop. It's a huge process. You hear me probably talk about it from time to time, maybe a lot. It's just because it's so important to me, and it's something that I love and I put a lot of time and effort into. I'm running 2 campaigns still. So I've got my online campaign that you've all probably seen. That's going great. I've got my home campaign that's also going great. My home campaign's hitting like 17th, 18th level. We're getting to like the very top of the level cap in 5th edition. It's epic. It's intense. It's so complicated. And then the Land of Dreams and Nightmares, the live streamed one, we're at like level 8, 9 around there. And it's also, it's been fantastic. I'm loving it. Let me see if I've got any questions from anyone. Wow, okay, we've got a bunch of comments. Thanks for all the comments here, guys. Okay, first question, why am I gay? Well, I'm a happy guy, man. How do you write dialogue for your short stories? Okay, Bertie Sanders is asking about dialogue. It's a great question. So I never considered myself a dialogue writer. I used to write a lot of short stories and run a lot of D&D games. And even before that, when I was a kid, I was always making up stories and telling my friends stories and leading them on little adventures and making my own little RPGs. So even though I did all of that, which you could say is kind of dialogue driven, at least some scenes, right? The interaction scenes are dialogue driven. I didn't consider myself a dialogue writer until I started writing this book series. And they are highly dialogue driven. There's a lot of dialogue, and I fell in love with it. I can give you a couple answers as to how I do that. One answer, which is the truest answer, but maybe not the answer that you're going to like, because it's hard. Maybe you can't grasp it so firmly, is that the characters talk to me. And what I mean by that is I'm here at my computer and I just kind of open my mind and they just talk to me. It's like as if these spirits are just in my mind or in my room and they're telling me their stories, or maybe I'm listening to them having a conversation with each other. And I guess that's not too far-fetched. Most people can do that. You can sort of imagine characters in your own mind, or you can at least remember conversations, or you can remember dialogue from movies or from books that you've experienced. So you just kind of take that to the next step where you're creating your own. Another answer I could give is that I draw a lot from real life. Even though I love fantasy and I create fantasy, it's highly informed by real life, by meeting people, friends, family, strangers, friends of friends, and having conversations with them, listening to their stories, observing their their individual quirks. And if you can get into a real conversation with someone who's being genuine with you, they tell you all kinds of things about themselves. Because people are these wonderfully complex beings. And just like how you have everything that's going on in your life and your background and everything you've done and your whole family and friend, you've got a lot of different facets, right, that compose your reality and your world. Everyone else does too. And if you just kind of acknowledge that and open yourself up to it, you have great conversations with people. And I take a lot of inspiration from that. Sometimes it's direct, like I was at a Native American center recently, and it was the first time I'd been in the gift shop, and I was buying a little gift, and the woman who was working at the counter, she was a definitely middle-aged woman, and she had this long, wavy, thick hair. And I just simply commented, wow, you have great hair. I think your hair is really beautiful. And she said, thank you. And just by chatting with her a bit, she kind of opened up to me, and she said, when I was a girl, I would always braid my hair at night so that the next day I could take the braid out and I'd have wavy hair. And my brother would always make fun of me and call me Medusa and said my hair was snakes. And then some years passed, he passed away. He died. And, I could tell that was a painful moment that she went through, right? She was talking to me about that. And she said, when he died, a custom from my tribe is that the women cut their hair short. So I cut my hair. And when my hair grew out again, when it grew back wavy, naturally wavy. And she had black hair, but it had this little streak of gray through the side. And I thought, gosh, what a story. And I thanked her for telling me that story. And we talked a little bit more. And I went on to talk about some symbolism of snakes and how snakes can represent fertility and immortality, or at least the renewing of life, because snakes shed their skin. And so they kind of become new and young again. And I realized that there was this character in my book series. Her name is Ghislaine Elune, Gish for short. She's a priestess. And the way that I wrote her, she had this shock of silver, the streak of silver through her hair. And I'm like, wow, this woman kind of reminds me of Gish. And Gish needed something deeper, right? The character was not very well developed, kind of flat. She just needed that touch of detail and real life. And so that literally informed that character. And so I directly took inspiration from that woman's story and wrote it into that character. And then that went on to the character kind of talking to me some more and telling this story. Interestingly, when that character talked to me and told me this story, it was actually recovering a dead story. So there we go with this rebirth, rejuvenation theme again. I had written a story back in 2016 called The Fiends in the Rock, and I hand wrote it in a writing journal. And when I was in Brazil that year, I got mugged on the street in Salvador, Brazil. And the guy took my bag that had that book in it, that notebook in it, and I lost that story. And that kind of haunted me. And then this character, once I allowed her to have more life and depth, she kind of recovered this story and she told it to me. And it was like The Fiends in the Rock was reborn. And even that story itself has rebirth symbolism in it. And the story came back to me even better and even deeper than before. So these things just blow me away. And I'm in love with these human processes. I'm endlessly fascinated by our stories, by our cultures, by our legends, by people. Just people fascinate me. So I could go on and on about dialogue, man, but a lot of it just comes from that. Just having that empathy and that ability to observe and be open and take in all that inspiration because it's all over the place. It's right there at your fingertips. All right, let's see if we got any other questions in here. We got some people saying good luck and showing some support. So thank you all for that. Okay. Emerald Eye says, I like owlbears. I like owlbears as well. They make a delicious stew. A guy, okay, this is Adam. What's up, Adam? A guy on a small boat standing on the starboard side at the steering oar, you say. It turned out being a raft. He does have an oar, though. It turns out that, actually, I think you know this because I think you read, well, I know you read the second draft. And I think that part's the same. So he does end up on a raft. The character in the book is what I'm talking about here. One of the characters, one of the main characters. There's actually a few main characters. So that scene, he's at the last remaining chunk of wreckage from the ship. That's what he's on going down the river. So he's in a pretty difficult and vulnerable state. Okay, I've got a comment from Thaisa. Beijos, meu amor. Have I read Port of Shadows? I have not. This might be a little bit of a shock. I don't read a lot of fantasy. I do read fantasy, but I read many genres. I read lots of different kinds of books. So I actually haven't read a bunch of I need to read more fantasy. I want to. What am I reading right now? I just finished reading the Tao Te Ching, the main holy book of Taoism. Very interesting book. I'm reading 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Also very thought-provoking. I'm reading The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, which that actually has been on my reading list for years, and that's incredible, just unbelievable. If you want to talk about some good dialogue, check out The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Just incredible, unparalleled. What else am I reading right now? I'm reading Tales of the Dervishes. These are old legends and tales from ancient Persia. So I love those kinds of stories. I guess more than fantasy, I read like medieval and ancient history. I read mythology. I read fairy tales, like literally Brothers Grimm fairy tales and other types of writings. So I read lots of things that like compose the bedrock of fantasy. But I need to read more actual fantasy novels. What is your name? What is your quest? And what is the capital of Assyria? My name is Vrathik. My quest is to recover that which has been stolen. Assyria? You have traveled far, wanderer. You must tell me the tales of this wondrous land. Okay. Just looking to see if we have any other questions before I finish up the live stream here. I don't know how much steam I have behind me, and actually I had to get back to work on maps and stuff for the newsletter before the month finishes up. Okay, that seems to be all. Unless anyone else has any other burning questions or curiosities, I'll wrap things up here. Once again, thank you all so much. I look forward to doing some more live streams like this. I think this is actually the first one that I've done where it's just me by myself talking to my laptop. It's a little weird, to be honest, but who knows? Maybe I'll get used to it and I'll end up liking it. So we'll see. I'd like to do some more of these just to give you all updates. Oh, Max O'Brien wanted to get a question in real quick. Do I play any games other than D&D? Okay, so tabletop role-playing games. Currently, no, though Adam from my group is supposed to be running Shadow of the Demon Lord soon, so I'm going to check that out. And then previously, I've tried some other systems, such as the original Vampire and original Werewolf, back when those first came out, Burning Wheel a few years ago, Dungeon World, Savage Worlds, specifically the Deadlands setting, Earth Dawn, Warhammer, the original Warhammer role-playing game. I played that a long time ago, like when I was 15 or something. I'm probably forgetting a couple others. So each one has something to offer. You know, each one's kind of great and cool in its own way. D&D, and specifically D&D in my own settings, is what has satisfied me the most over the years. And someday I just might make my own role-playing game system. Again, actually, I've made a number of them before, so who knows? We'll see. I might make my own. It's a big project. The name of my books. Okay, so the book series is called Chrysalis. And here's the concept that I have right now for the books. My idea is that the series is called Chrysalis, and then each book is going to compose two parts. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. At the moment, the first book is going to be part 1, Bridges in the Mist. Part 2, The Elk, the Willow, and the Wayfarer. The next book will be part 3, Dark Moon. Part 4, Fatefall. And then 5 and 6, which I have outlined, are Spiral of Souls, and I don't have the other one named yet. But man, I love the outline. It's like one of those things, when I finished the notes and outlining it, I was like jumping up from the table at the coffee shop. My friends were like, what's going on with this guy? But I was that stoked. It just blew my mind what happens in this story. Have I read The Way of Kings? I have not read The Way of Kings. I feel like I'm going to let you guys down when you start asking me if I've read these books. But I do appreciate the suggestions. And as I said, these are books that I need to read. I've heard good things about The Way of Kings. I'm trying to remember the name of the main character from that one. Is it Eldrick? I think that one's Eldrick by Michael Moorcock. Please forgive me if I'm mixing two different book series there. Logan Seller asks, what's my favorite character that I've ever played? Favorite character that I've ever played. You know, I'm DMing 99.9% of the time. And usually when I play a character, they just end up like one-shots. So it's not very satisfying. I mean, it is. It's cool. It's fun. But the satisfaction of a character, you know, comes from playing him regularly over weeks and months, and they develop and you become invested in them. So probably There's two. It's hard to pick. My third edition character, Vesic, who was my first real D&D character that I really got to play him for a number of months. He was an elven druid who had a wolf companion, and he used a longbow, and he was the guardian of the demon woods. Now, this woods didn't actually have demons in them, but they were very tangled, thorny woods, very dark and shadowy, and there was a lot of scary legends about the place being haunted by fiends, but it actually wasn't. That was something of a deterrent that he maintained to keep people out, because at the heart of this woods was a location of power, a sacred location that he protected. But I identified with that character at that time and got invested in him. The other character was my 4th edition character, Chasmful. I mentioned him in one of my videos, my races ranking video. Yeah, when I got to the part about Goliaths, because he was a Goliath, and he was like a volcano barbarian, fiend-packed warlock. Really interesting character, kind of a internal conflict character. I love internal conflict, those personal trials and tribulations and interior struggles. That is just so compelling to me. Any other question? I guess we got a couple more. Am I planning on increasing the $25 tier for the patrons? Okay, so I think Pramod is asking if I'm going to open up more slots to be in live streamed campaigns. I would like to. It's a matter of time, because I also work a whole different job. I'm also a private language coach, a private English coach. That's my other hat that I wear. So when I'm not Esper the Bard, I'm Esper the teacher. I'm teacher Esper. And I love that as well. Though I would say that storytelling and fantasy and artistic things, that is my original and truest love. So yeah, man, it's just really a matter of not having the time. I would like to, though, because this online campaign has turned out to be very successful in the fact that I've met some really cool guys, and we have a great group. We have a very interesting campaign, and even though there are some limitations playing online, and I think playing in person is better overall. It's been very satisfying, and I'm loving it. So maybe that's all I could say, man. Maybe, but thank you very much for your interest. And if one opens up, I hope that I have the opportunity to game with you. Am I planning on doing any more adventure videos? Says Chris Frank. It's the same answer. Though I could more easily do some adventure videos than start a 3rd campaign in my life. Chris, man, I want to do a new narrated adventure so bad. Actually, a story has been, a character and a storyline has been brewing in my head for months now. And it's like constantly knocking on my door. I go to sleep at night and it's there. Hey, remember that story? That could be a great one. People might love it. And it's really a matter of time. I think there's going to come a day. That's what I'm aiming for. That's the path that I'm on, where I'm going to be able to hang up my teacher hat and just focus on my writing, on my YouTube, on my art, just the creative side exclusively. And I really look forward to that day, man. That is like my life dream. That is what I've always wanted, and it would be incredible. So I'm working, and I'm heading in that direction. Everything is developing. My YouTube and my Patreon are slowly, step by step, getting there. So thank you very much for your support. Please share the channel with anyone that you can. Anything you can do to keep my fire stoked, I appreciate that. Kitten Cot, looking forward to your next game session. Thank you. I am as well. We're going to be gaming not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. So Sunday, a week from tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit earlier in the afternoon, just because we're in Game of Thrones season right now. And very much looking forward to playing that. Burning Wheel character creation is a game in itself. Yes, it is. I love so many concepts of Burning Wheel, and I loved reading the Burning Wheel book, and I love creating my character. But when it actually got down to actually playing Burning Wheel and specifically getting into the mechanics and the resolution of conflict, it was too complicated. It was too complicated. But that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into a critique of Burning Wheel. It's a really interesting game. Okay, how did the character end up on the raft? You will see, Seth. You will see. Gnomes rule. Gnomes do have many rules. They were very rule-oriented people. Very, very rule-like. It's a wonder why they haven't taken over the world yet. Brewing sounds... Okay. All right, Brian Alphin. I'm going to give you the last question, and then I'm going to end the stream because I've already gone for... How long have I gone now? I don't know where I can see how long I've been streaming. It must be on here somewhere. All right. Go ahead. Drop your question, and we'll do this as the last one. Okay, well, maybe Brian. Maybe we lost Brian. I wonder if there's a way at some point in the future I could do a call-in live stream, and I could actually get live people, and I could talk to them. I bet I could arrange some kind of number. I could probably get, there's probably some service where I could get an 800 number for the US and then like an international toll-free number. And I wonder what I could get some trolls call again. So I hope you all have enjoyed this this live stream format. Like I said, this was my first time doing it, so it is a little bit strange for me just sitting here talking to my computer, but it's cool having you guys in the chat. It's reassuring me that I'm not completely insane, just babbling to myself. As much as I'm used to doing the live stream campaigns with the other guys, just sitting here talking by myself has been a unique experience. All right, Brian, you got 5 seconds. When I'm done counting down, just hit enter, hit return, and just give me as much of the question as you got. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Okay. My party has unfortunately figured out my big bad before I wanted any ideas on how to get them off this trail. Okay. So the players in your D&D group or whatever system you're running, they've kind of figured out what your main villain of your storyline, your central antagonist, they've figured out what he's up to, and any ideas to get them off his trail. Well, it depends. What is the disparity, right? What is the difference in power between the central villain and the player character party? Okay. Is it a situation where the central antagonist is much stronger than the characters? It probably is. I'm just guessing that. Yeah, you're saying it's happened way before you wanted it to. So you were thinking like levels down the road, then they're going to have this big reveal and encounter the guy. All right, so it sounds like this villain is much stronger than the player characters. Okay. So when you're DMing, you're going to get a lot of unexpected curveballs, right? Unexpected things are going to happen all the time. And the players are very smart and they're very clever and they're always trying to figure things out and tinker with things and look for chinks in the armor that they can exploit, right? So you got to learn to roll with that, and you got to learn to enjoy that. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that I could give you from this whole topic, and I'll try to give you a specific solution to your problem. But that's probably the biggest thing I would like you to take away from this concept, is that you have to accept the fact that you're going to get thrown these unexpected decisions from the players, right, who are playing the characters in your game, and they are constantly messing with, poking, tinkering, pulling, prodding, doing everything they can with this scenario that you've set up, and that's a good thing, right? That's really cool. That's a really cool thing. There's not a lot of games out there that give you that kind of experience. So you have to accept that. That's what happens with role-playing games, and you got to learn to enjoy it. When I'm DMing, I am endlessly amused and curious as to what exactly is going to happen. You can create a scenario, you can set a stage, and you can create your characters, like your non-player, your NPCs, and your villains, and the objects and the locations and storylines and plots that are unfolding. Sometimes just you're improvising these plots. And there, to me, I get an immense amount of joy and satisfaction out of the surprise of what ends up happening, because I couldn't exactly foresee what the players were going to do. That sense of it being real and alive, like actual living people. You know, you and I were creating this together, and we're on this like adventure experience and this investigation, exploration, quest for development. It's endlessly amusing and inspiring and satisfying to me. I get a lot of fulfillment out of that. I didn't start off at that point, though. Not every DM does. I think a lot of DMs don't start off at that point because, well, we come from competitive games, such as video games or card games like Magic the Gathering or sports. And there's this sort of me versus you competitive element to it, which is fine. I mean, that's totally cool. But D&D is a little different than that. Now, there is like an element of it being competitive in there, and you do feel, right, there's a participation that we have in a conflict resolution, and so it's not like it's totally removed from competitive, but it's not strictly a competitive game. It's really a cooperative game, right? And it's a maturing process where over time you learn to let go of the video game mindset. I'll just say video game mindset to keep it simple. You learn to let go of the video game mindset where it's like, I got to be the best. I'm going to beat these guys. And if it doesn't work out like I wanted, that's frustrating. You over time, you mature as a dungeon master, and you learn to let go of that more and more. And you learn to embrace the richness of shared storytelling and how amazing it is to be a part of something that's alive. Okay. So I know I went pretty far down the rabbit hole on your question there, but I think that's a really important distinction. And I think the people that love role playing and it stays with them throughout their entire life are people that learn to embrace the actual role playing shared storytelling experience. And they don't get as hung up or irritated by this competitive element of, I want to win, and if I don't win, I'm frustrated. That said, let me give you just one idea. I'll just throw something out there, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know the specifics of your villain, but let's imagine that your villain is part of a group, right? He's not just alone. He's not just, I'm the evil lord or the evil demon that wants, whatever. He has his plan, but he's not at it alone, right? He has, well, to put it in military terms, like he has his lieutenants and his sergeants and his troops. And then you've got the player characters. And let's imagine they're not alone either. They're not just this wandering band that don't know anybody. They don't care about anybody. they're just murder hobos, to use the cliche term. You know, they've got contacts, they have allies, they're associated with at least one faction or a city or some kind of group organization, and they have families, they have backgrounds. Okay, since they've already discovered the villain's plot, just go ahead and put the wheels in motion to bring these two sides to bear, right? The villain and his whole army, his whole people, and the player characters and their whole army and their whole people. Just go ahead and set the storyline in motion where these guys are going to come together in a clash. And the villain is pretty strong. The player characters can't defeat him by themselves, but they've already blown his cover, right? His cover's blown. So he's going to throw things into high gear. He's going to say, all right, well, the long game is over now. I had plans, you know, that were more nuanced, and maybe I had some other arcs and branches I wanted to explore, but they've forced my hand. So I'm rallying my banners now. I'm calling out to the strongholds. I'm summoning, I'm rallying my troops, and we're going to descend upon our opponents, right? We're going to throw things into high gear. And that's going to force the player characters then to do the same, right? They're going to have to muster as well and meet him in battle. If they don't, what's the consequence of that? They got to run away. They're going to lose the things that they care about. Civilization, as they know, it will be threatened. I don't know the specifics of your campaign, like I said, but I think you just have to go ahead and just chuck things into high gear. That's part of the beauty of rolling with the punches, you know, and dealing with unexpected things from the players, is because they want to instigate things because they want it to be exciting. We all want it to be exciting, right? So you say, fair enough. You want to blow the cover on the villain, and you want to let the cat out of the bag, so to say. Then I'm in, all in. Put all your chips in. Just lay your hand on the table and call them. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the result of that's going to be, and probably you and the players don't either. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. Now, you actually asked me, how do you throw them off the trail? So I guess I didn't really answer your question, man. How do you throw them off the trail? Side quests. Interesting side quests with potential for treasure. Distract them. Counterintelligence. The villain has some spies or enchanters or illusionists, and he starts influencing people that can feed lies or false information to the player characters. That's actually a really good idea. A lot of people presume that everything a non-player character says is true. They're thinking, well, they're just telling me this, it has to be true. But not necessarily, right? A non-player character could lie to them, could be manipulating them, could be using them, could be throwing them off the trail. So I'll leave it at that. I talked about a few different things in response to your question. So great question. I look like a French billionaire. Merci beaucoup. Can I use a Helmed Horror or Battle of Helmed Horror as a player character? Helmed Horror. I believe that's a construct. I think that's a non-intelligent construct. Could you take the aesthetic of the Helmed Horror and then make a player character out of that, like an actual sentient, maybe a sentient construct, like a Warforged, or maybe it's a person, but he actually has some kind of special suit of armor that has mutated him in a way. What you might actually want there is just the essence or the aesthetic of the Helmed Horror instead of the actual creature itself. Okay. I guess I'll do one more question. This has gone way longer than I thought it. Oh, there's the time. I've been streaming for 44 minutes. Okay, well, I guess that's not so bad. I haven't made it to an hour mark. If I have time, what's my view on alignment? I think the Dungeons and Dragons alignment system with the chaos law axis and the good evil axis is really interesting. I think it's really cool. It's not the only way that you could do it. There's other alignment systems out there, or you could have no alignment, or you could just strictly rely on things like personality traits and temperaments. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways you could do it, but in terms of just the as per the tradition of Dungeons and Dragons, I like it, and I think it's very interesting to look at characters from movies, TV series, books, comics, etc., and try to discuss and debate and figure out what their alignments are. I did 2 videos of Game of Thrones characters. Maybe you've seen them. If not, check them out. I did 2 videos where each video I explore all it's 9, right? I think so. I explore all the 9. It's 9 or 10. Sorry about that. I explore all the alignments. I use an example character for each of the alignments in both the videos I do. So you get like a full set of whatever, 18 or 20 characters. And it's an interesting exercise, and you can do it. Some characters are more difficult than others. For example, Eddard Stark and Jon Snow, they're clearly good aligned, but lawful good, I would say. Joffrey Baratheon and Ramsay Bolton are chaotic evil. So those are some clear-cut characters. But then you come to characters like Jaime Lannister or Tyrion Lannister. Those were hard characters. I think I came up with just true neutral for both of them. But it's a compelling thing to think about. It's a fun exercise to do. All right, everybody, I'm going to end it at that. I'll say this was a successful live stream. I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the different ideas that I've discussed here. Thank you, everyone who gave me some questions, and for everyone who commented on the video. I'll look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Hopefully I'll have Monstrosities Part 2 up soon. I just got to finish all the stuff for the newsletter and the maps by the end of the month. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Onwards to the next big goal on the horizon. And as always, my friends, may your adventures be many.